playing the role of Christine in the Phantom of the Opera, the title character in The Little Mermaid, and the list goes on and on. She is going to be joined, just waiting for her to join. How is everyone doing today? We all having a good Wednesday? Feels weird. It doesn't feel like Wednesday because of the long holiday weekend, right? Or am I the only one? Who's signing on? Hello, Eddie. My favorite Ariel. Yes, mine too. She's pretty amazing. Happy Wednesday from my producer, Ariella. Just waiting for Sierra. Sadie says hello. Hi, Sadie. Adriana is excited. I'm excited too, Adriana. Can't wait. Sadie is excited. Great. She is inspirational. Did anyone see her play Christine Phantom? She is my favorite Christine of all time. Actually, I think she just joined. Hello from Nashville. All right, here comes Sierra. Here we go.
Yay!
Sierra, how are you?
Hi,
It's
Frank.
good to see your face.
It's so good to see you too. Oh my god.
Are you back in New York? I know you were home in Colorado, right?
I was in Colorado. I'm back in New York. I just had one of the, like, when I first got back, then it was just Barbara Streisand.
Your girl.
Always watching.
Your girl.
Always. Oh, my girl. She's always watching me. But when I first got back, I was like, oh, I was so glad to be back. And I haven't been back that long. And then today was one of those New York days that was like where everything starts going, like I was city biking and like the city bike was filled up and so there wasn't a place to park my bike and I had to be someplace that, you know, it was like one of those. But because I took that break, Frank, I was like,
good.
I'm zen. It's like, it's fine. Because you know what New York has? Options. Yeah. So I'm like, great. What's the next option? I'm just going to walk a couple blocks this way. But also this time is just about that. You know, this time is just for us to be like, how can I adjust?
It's so true. You know,
what I mean?
I took a little break and for the summer I was out on Long Island staying with family friends. And, you know, when I came back to the city, it was like, oh my gosh, I missed you. I missed you so much. And yes, I missed, you know, the craziness and the hustle and bustle. And as we can both tell the people watching, there is a feeling that the city is coming back. There is that feeling. And then, did you see today they just announced that indoor dining is going to start at the end of the month? 25% indoor dining. Which is great news. It's good news.
It is great news. And because New York doesn't do something unless it's like, okay, you know, like, it's not like, oh, we're just going to do dining because who cares? It's because, in my opinion, I feel like they would have really thought about it. There will be precautions. Like, you know, it's like with Broadway, we're not closing just for fun. Right. You know, it's like and we won't come back just because, oh, we've got to. We come back because we are ready and we're taking care of the people. And
it's the right time. We always do it at the right time. And that's why,
100.
knocking on wood, Sierra, our numbers are strong and we are New York strong. And
yes, we are New York strong.
That is us. All right, so you've been teaching a lot during the pandemic. You've been doing a lot of master classes. You've been doing a lot.
Yeah, probably too much.
What have been the highlights for you in terms of kind of just rethinking, you know, your journey, your career at this moment in time during COVID? You know, what have been some of the highlights for you?
I would say actually, so when I teach, I start a class, and I had started the class online with, I just want to acknowledge that there is no place to perform right now. There is no Broadway, there are no school shows, there is no West End, there are no touring productions, and yet you all still signed up to take this class. And yet you still want to do the work on your songs. And that is a highlight for me, because I'm fascinated by the spirit of the artist. And I can only speak for the artists, you know, because that's what I've been working with. But that's like, the spirit is really strong, that you still want to show up, even though, and so it's just a highlight that even though there's not a place to actually do what we do, or these aspiring Broadway performers, there isn't a Broadway right now. And so, but you still, so I guess that why it's a highlight is, it highlights for me that the point isn't to perform and look at me. The point is actually the work, so that even in a pandemic, we're still doing the work. There's something within us that still wants to. And that goes for everybody in any job, anywhere. You know, we're still figuring out ways to show up. So that's been a highlight, is just the awakenings that I've had and that one could have during this time. And also just getting to, on the other side of that, getting to be present with what is, as opposed to living in the what could be or what was.
Sierra, you know, you and I talked very early on during this pandemic. We had a little fun FaceTime call with our mutual friend, Titus Burgess. And, you know, one thing that even from the very beginning, I mean, and you've always been like this ever since I met you. You're so zen. Where does that come from? And can you throw some of that on me, because I need it? I'm I'm trying to be zen. You know, I have my good days, I have my bad days. Where'd that come from for you?
I do too, though. And I say this because people are like, "Oh, you're so positive." It's so not true. And first of all, I'll say, and for everybody, it's like, "Oh, it's unachievable." It's not a thing to strive for, to be positive and happy 100% of the time. That's a defect, you know. As much as being sad or low all the time is a thing, so is like, it's not normal or natural to be. So I want to just say that first and foremost. I go down. The difference is, I think, and the difference is not between me and others, but me and myself from before, I would say, and I mean years, when I started doing that. I have a great therapist. I read, all my books are like self-help books. There just came a point in my life where I got more interested in feeling better than setting up shop in the misery. And as artists, and I've had a lot of conversations with other artists about this stuff too, that's like, there's this whole thing that we should be these tortured individuals. And that's just not so. There is also, there's so much to be learned in the great joys as well. And we don't do our best work if we're just miserable all the time and tortured. That's just, I don't know, that's a stereotype almost.
And not a good place to be either mentally.
No, it isn't. It really isn't. I have been, there was a show I was involved in that was like, could have been the happiest show on earth, and there was nothing, and we were all going through our own personal struggles, having nothing to do with the show itself. That was just where we go to work, and that was actually thank God we're here, but just personally going through so much and feeling so low and so sad, but you still get on stage and do it. So I don't actually even think of myself as a Zen person, but I think of myself as somebody who's just interested. I'm always interested in why I go down or whatever. I had a couple of breakdowns just this past month, like a couple full breakdowns of just weeping. And I get really interested of like, what was my triggers? So I get curious. That's what I do.
That's smart.
Frank. I get
Ask me
curious.
questions.
Yes.
Questions are good.
Ask the questions. And why do I feel like this? Why am I so low right now? And why am I assigning so much meaning to everything that got me there? And you know the book that I just, when I came back from college, I just read it. You can read it like that. Is The Four Agreements.
My mother gave it to me.
And you know what? You'll read it when you're ready. Because I've had this book for, 10 years. I never cracked it. It was just one of those, it's like, yeah, you should have this book. I got really clear because the ones that I struggle with, because the four is, number one, be impeccable with your word. Number two, don't take anything personally. I struggle with that.
That's a big one.
Number three, make no assumptions.
That's also a big one for me.
I struggle with that. And number four, do your best every day. I would say out of those, I struggle with the middle two.
I'm with you. You know some advice a friend of mine once told me, and this is so true. If you worry about something before it happens, and then eventually it does happen, and you know there's a 50-50 chance, you've made yourself sick twice. Why do that?
Oh, yes.
And I have to remind myself of that, especially now during COVID, you know, when we're all going through this weird, crazy, unknown stuff. But I have to read that book again because you're onto something, Sierra. See? Good advice. Good advice. I ask a question, you give good advice.
I give the advice that I need, though, too. You know, it's like we're good at talking about the stuff that I need it. So it's not like, I feel like Brene Brown just talked about that, too, because, you know, Brene Brown is the vulnerability researcher. And she's like, she just said something recently in maybe one of her podcasts. It's like, look, don't put me as like your poster child for like vulnerability. I hate vulnerability. Yeah. Like she's like, no, but you know that's the thing. You know, like I'm people know me for saying you are enough as much as for playing Ariel. Yeah, I need that reminder all the time. That's like, Sierra, you're enough. And it's like, oh yeah, I say that.
And you are enough, and I can say that to you.
Thank you. So are you.
Maria just asked what book was that called, and it's called The Four Agreements.
Four Agreements.
Sierra, let's talk about performing, because you two have also been performing during this. You recently did a concert with our pal Seth Rudetsky. I saw the clip of you singing from The Secret Garden.
Yes.
Is that weird? You know, like, just talk about the kind of like technical element of singing over a platform online. Like, how do you do that?
It's really hard. I will say it's really hard. And I had to break down a couple days before that, just with myself. I thought, I didn't sign up for this. Not for Seth's thing. I mean, I didn't sign up for singing virtually and hoping it works out. You know, we're trusting a lot of things. And I had this, and then I was like, Sierra, calm down. No one signed up for this. So we have these moments of, I didn't sign up for this. Why is this happening? You know, because I know what it's like to do it without that. And it's easier, which of course it isn't. You know this. Like with anything live, it's like you're just trusting. So then I got really clear that was like, you know what? You did sign up for this, because you know what hasn't changed is this doesn't have anything to do with you. This has to do with the other. This has to do with the audience. And once I get really clear on that, and it's just transferring the mindset that I had when I was live performing to now. And then I was like, oh, I can have so much fun with this, because it's so nice to do it with Seth. Of course, it's like, we know we can just play off each other. He's going to throw me some, where it's just, how can I make this nice for everybody? And for everybody watching, that's like, what's great, here's the great things. People can watch from all over the world. And that's so profound to me. That's like, I'm getting ready to actually film a concert, which we're going to announce, but I can say this because we're going to announce that I'm going to do Radio Free Birdland, which will just check back with Instagram and stuff for the people watching, and I'll let you know when that's going to air. But we're going to do it. This is for Jim Caruso, where we film this, and it's going to be filmed, and I'm going to wear a gown and heels for the first time, you know, and we're going to film my full concert with my music director and my sister
Amazing.
cellist, and that will be aired. And so that will be a different type of virtual performing, and that will be bizarre. You know what was one of the most bizarre things with Seth and what will be for what I'm going to do is it's silent. You'll be like,
Nothing.
and I am not accustomed to a non-applause after a high note.
I'm giving you applause over here. I think we're actually in the same neighborhood, so just a couple blocks up, Sierra. I'm giving you applause. You sang from The Secret Garden, and I just want to talk about her because we love her so much. Our dear Rebecca Loker.
I love her.
And she and her husband Danny are going through some hard times right now, and they are lights. Speaking of light, they are lights. And you know, she was very instrumental in terms of shaping you, Sierra, as an artist, right?
She definitely was somebody that I was listening as a soprano. Rebecca Luker is who you would listen to, you know, coming into the industry. Rebecca Luker and Audra McDonald were who I was listening to. Nobody has breath support or breath control like Rebecca Luker. There are phrases that she did in Secret Garden that I am like, oh, I gotta get really mentally ready for it. Her Think of Me cadenza, I still think is the best Think of Me cadenza ever. It's just, she's extraordinary, and you're absolutely right. She is a light. She's an amazing human. I just can't believe that this time, this year, everything, it's been so loaded up with so much, and that two of just the greatest people in our industry are going through such a difficult time. It's beyond.
Have you talked to them, Sierra? Have you talked to Rebecca or Danny?
No, I mean, I saw Rebecca when we did another thing for Seth on Stars in the House, and it was so good to just see her face and hear her talk. And it seems like the spirits are as good as can be, because I don't know, it's that work ethic, and it's that that human spirit thing that's like, it's hard to crush that, you know. And they're both such strong individuals, I feel like. So yeah, that's it was good to just have that time on Seth's Stars.
Was that when all the Christines got together?
That was when all the Christines got together.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because we're getting into my next question. You know, Lloyd Webber, who is a dear, dear friend of yours, you know, is really, talk about someone who's putting the money where his mouth is. He's really pushing forward and demanding that something happen, and going and trying out a new vaccine, and going and trying to open up his theaters in a COVID-19 friendly space, or safe way. You know, he's really doing this. What interaction have you had with Andrew during this time, in terms of presenting new stuff?
Yeah, we had a bit in the start, and then now I'm watching all of this happen, where it's like he is championing for live theater.
He is our biggest cheerleader on both sides of the pond too.
I agree. I mean, that's the thing, though, is when everything gets stripped away, I think it is, it's like when you get squeezed, what comes out? When everything's stripped away, what's coming out? And seeing that part of his character and his humanity and the need that we have to be doing live theater, it's everything, and it's worth noting. And it's just, and we need somebody with that much power, you know, to be calling for this to happen, and that's also taking action. So I just feel extremely grateful and hopeful.
Yeah.
But knowing that's like you can, the other side is you can also be highly powerful and connected, and you still, you have to wait. There's only so much that you can do, you know, because this is beyond all of us. This is obviously, look at this virus. It's like, it's difficult. And I don't know how to speak about it because it's so beyond.
Totally. Totally. You know, you've played the role of Christine, you know, in a few places, I could say around the world, because you have in your own way. Let's talk about Phantom for a second. You know, do you have like an ultimate memory when it comes to doing that show?
Nobody's ever asked me that, Frank DiLella.
Hard-hitting
An
questions over
ultimate
here,
memory
Sarah.
when it, I know, come on. You give me the good stuff. I mean, there's so many. I guess I'll go here first. I'll go with rehearsal first. The ultimate memory is this was such a dream come true, and so that I can speak to the people that still want to, that it's like, I'll say this first too. I know I'm saying so many things. The amount of people who still have Christine as their dream role is, it's so beautiful to me, from everywhere, all over the world. I love it. And so for those people, I will say the answer is the first time that came true, or I realized it came true, wasn't even after the casting. That was like, oh my God. But it was that first technical rehearsal where you get to go in the boat for the first time, and you learn how it works, and that Phantom's behind you. That was a moment for me. And then you're singing the high E. And I remember, and it was so long ago that we didn't have, even iPhones didn't exist yet. It was on, like, someone took a digital picture, so it's really grainy. But it's of me like jumping up and down because I sang the high E, and then I just started jumping up and down because I couldn't believe what had just happened. And it was like the rehearsal stopped for a second. This was in Vegas, the first place that I did it. And that was an iconic moment and memory for me. The performance that I go to, there's two, and one is going to actually the bow at the end of the 25th anniversary in London. When I came out to bow, that's, again, for anybody who's done, even run a marathon or climbed a mountain or anything where it's like you have to stay so focused for a certain period of time. Once you, and then you cross the finish or you get to the top, you come apart. Yeah. And I remember coming out from my bow after the 25th, and I had to be so focused then because it was live all around the world and to cinemas, plus live for Royal Albert Hall. And we felt like we had just given everything. I felt like I left my entire artistic soul on the stage. And I remember the feeling of coming out and seeing Hadley, who played Raoul, seeing his face when I came down to bow, just beaming, and then just taking that moment where you just actually felt like collapsing. So that's pretty iconic. And I also, for me, and I also remember, again, it's this bows, and it's not because I wanted the applause of the people. It's because it's the first time I got to enjoy what had just occurred, and also taking the bow with Norm as Phantom, as
making history,
being the first African American making history.
I was there that night.
I'll never
forget that. Was pretty unforgettable.
Yes, you were.
Pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing.
Were.
And I have to point out, you know, the last time I feel like we interacted professionally, well, this is obviously professionally, but when I had you on New York One was when we were sitting there remembering the late great Hal Prince, who of course directed Phantom.
Yep.
You know, I asked you then, I'm going to put you on the spot again. You know, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Hal Prince?
I don't know what I said then,
I
but
know what you
right
said.
now I just went to.
I'll tell you after
You
you say
do?
this. Yeah.
Did I say icon? No.
You said that, but now
I
I'm thinking
wouldn't
about
say.
a particular memory. But well, what are you thinking
Oh,
about right now?
the first word that came to my head, or words that came to my head right now, was his humor. That's what's hitting me right now. Maybe just because I want to stay in that spot, but yeah, his humor, and also because I was just talking about Vegas, and he was so warm, and he was so um, encouraging of me, and but also like you wanted to please him uh, because he knew best. And he and Jillian Lynn are both in the DNA of my Christine, of everything that I do. I know why I do it. Or else it just becomes like, it can be a vapid movement to just like look out and like raise your arms up, you know. But it's not, because I know why I'm doing it, because of both of those incredible humans that I loved so much. So that comes up for me with Hal just now. That's what came up, is his humor. Do I have time to tell a
Yeah.
Hal story?
Yes, and then it's not the same story. I'm going to put you on the spot, but go.
Okay. The Hal story that I loved was, there's so many. I guess I'll do one. Was in Vegas while we're teching the chandelier, and in Vegas, the chandelier, everything in Vegas got to be what they had wanted it to be, but the technology didn't exist in 1980, whatever. So in 2006 or 6, when we did it, it was updated technology. So the chandelier went down in like 1.5 seconds as opposed to like 5 seconds. You know, it's like, even though it's still, when I see it on Broadway, it's like, wow. Like, I don't want it. When this comes back, I don't want it to be updated. I want the version that we know, and I want it antiquated. I want it that, because it honors the time that we can never get back, which is the patience and the wonderment of, I can't believe this is happening. So anyways, that's the side note, or the main note. But in Vegas, we teched the chandelier, they did, and Hal went and sat right underneath. He sat right in the row where it's going to hit you. And it's tech, so anything could go wrong. And it went so fast. And I just remember seeing Hal in his iconic glasses and just sitting like this. And I'm like, do not squish the legend. Like, do not, you know? But he was like, yeah, this is where you, like, he was so unfazed that it was like a near-death experience, but he survived it, and he just wanted to see. He wanted to know and make sure that it's like, that's who Hal was.
I love that.
He just wanted to make
I love
sure.
that. Well,
yeah.
what I'm thinking about is that Hal Prince in your apartment. Didn't
my apartment?
I'm saying Hal Prince and your apartment. Didn't he write?
Oh yes, that he wrote the letter to this apartment that I live in right now. Is some thanks to Hal, because you have to write letters to the board in order to be accepted, and Hal is one of the letters to the board. And what was his letter? It was like 3 lines long. Everybody else, you know, wrote like big long things, which you're supposed to, and Hal's was just basically like, if you have any questions, here's my number, and like to his office. And then when he sent it to me, he said, it's short, but it's one of your best reviews.
I mean, as a Broadway person, if I was on the board, I'd be like, yep, she's in. She's in. No more letters. Yep. She's in.
Be like, you know what? Never mind. We don't even need her financials.
Sierra, you have 2 cats, and they also have a little Broadway connection and or film connection or book connection, but I like to think of it as a Broadway connection.
It is the Broadway connection, actually. So my cats are named Celie and Olivia. My sister has Nettie.
I didn't know that.
So that's worth saying. And Nettie, of course, is beautiful and calico. You know, it's like as Nettie is in the story. But we named our cats Celie, Nettie, and Olivia. Olivia is the lesser known answer, which is Olivia is the daughter of Celie. This is from The Color Purple, you guys. And it is named, I will say, this was named after we saw the original production of Color Purple starring LaShawns. I saw that show 4 times. The most extraordinary. I couldn't stop weeping. Beyond. I saw it 4 times, and I remember
it was big. It was gorgeous. Oh. Yeah, in that Broadway theater where, you know, Miss Saigon lived for so many years. No, what a gorgeous production. Gary Griffin directed that, right?
Yes, he did. That's right. Yes, he did. And then I got to work with him. He directed Music in the Air at Encores that I ended up doing later. And also everybody in Little Mermaid, like half the cast of Color Purple, because I think it closed or was about to close. And so we got a lot of the cast members in Mermaid, and just everybody that was from Color Purple. I was so starstruck. I can't get enough of that.
I love that score too, Sarah. Oh my God.
I can't deal.
What's your favorite song?
All of them, but I always find myself singing like a blade of corn, like a honey bee. I always, but push the button, it's like all of them.
Sugar break is coming to town.
Yes, all. Or hell no.
Hell no.
That works too. Hell no. I love it so much. I can't get enough.
I'm a huge fan too. All right, Sierra, I'm going to ask you some fan questions because we have a ton here. And if folks, you are viewing or watching this, send them in the little question mark below. And we'll ask them I'll ask them for our dear Sierra. All right, Miss Boggess. First one is, what's your favorite Barbara song?
Oh, God. You know how impossible that is to answer. I love all the old Streisand, so these old ones are my faves. I love her version of He Touched Me. It's not my... There isn't a favorite. There isn't a one, but I love how she sings He Touched Me, and I love how she sings My Man.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love, it's one of her first albums. I can't remember what her first album was, but that's the one we used to listen to at my mom's record player all the time. But it has Absent Minded Me and When in Rome. Yeah.
Someone wants to know, what was it like auditioning for Phantom?
It was great.
You booked it.
I booked it, so it was wonderful. I was doing Les Mis on the road when I auditioned, and it's a story that I've told a few times where I took the train. I was out on the road, so I took the train from, I think, DC to come do the audition in New York. And as I was taking the train back, somebody jumped in front of the tracks, and so the Amtrak was suspended. So I had to call the stage manager for the first time in my life and say that I am going to be late. And because Les Mis is so long, I still made it for halfway through the first act. But in the meantime, I got the call that I had a call back. And this was how awesome Hal was too, because it's old school. They flew me then. They paid to fly me from DC the next week, DC to New York in the morning so that I could do the callback. And the callback was on stage. Hal used to do his auditions on stage of a Broadway house. So Broadway debut was actually at the Ambassador Theater where Chicago's playing. And I love that because then you're auditioning. You can do that so much better than the like terrible lighting, you know. It's probably just so expensive.
Yeah, totally. And when you're Hal Prince, you can do that.
When you're Hal Prince, should I shut my window, Frank? Is it too loud?
It doesn't bother me. I can hear you
okay.
perfectly fine.
Okay.
Because, you know, the industry is needing some love at this moment. Our buddy Paul Reiner, who signed on to say hi, wants to know what's your favorite costume that you've ever worn?
Oh God, I have definitely worn some of the best costumes
I would say
in the world. All of Christine's costumes are the greatest costumes that a person could ever have. All of them. But I'll go actually with one of my favorites of the most recent ones that I got to wear was for The Age of Innocence, which was a play that I did, where Linda Cho was costume designer, and people will know her work from
Anastasia,
Gentleman's Guide, and Anastasia.
Gorgeous
like
costumes.
She knows how to design a
beautiful
dress.
She's
and
also so chic
I played
too. Like just when she walks in, I'm like, I want to be her.
Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, we all do. 100%. So I'll say the dress that she designed for the Countess for the Age of Innocence play was one of my favorites.
You know, like I said, earlier in this chat, I was out on Long Island for a couple months, and I got to hang out with Kyle Barish, who was one of your Rowls, you know, over the years.
Yes. One of the best humans.
You guys did the 25th, I think, together on Broadway.
We did the 25th on Broadway, yes, with Hugh Pinero.
And I was telling him, you know, Phantom is near and dear to my heart because it was the first show I ever saw, late 80s. It was, you know, my first Broadway show. And I said, you know, when this pandemic is done, when we get out of this darkness, I would love to go see Phantom. Like, I'm thinking already, you know, what's the first show I want to go see? I think it has to be Phantom. And I think you need to go back and take on Christine because no one sings that show like you do.
It's the role that I'm never done with. It's so weird. It's like, but it's such a well-written part that it's like, I don't know how you could be done with it unless you just, I don't know. I love her so much. So I would go back and play her in a heartbeat. As long as I'm not taking somebody else's job who's already been given.
You're being fair. You're being fair. The question that keeps coming up in my little question box is, do you ever see yourself reuniting with Ramin to do Phantom?
We always want to. And we know, we are very aware that people want that to happen. Our fans want that to happen. And we always would jump at that chance to get to do that together again, because we did such focused work with each other with that, with Phantom when we did it for the 25th anniversary. And I think people get excited too because we did Love Never Dies, the sequel. So they like to see that it's like these two people have carried this on. So I don't think I think we're the only people who have done Us Together and Us Together. Yep. You know what I mean? So yes, people have played both characters, but maybe not as the same pairing or something. I think. I could be wrong, but people seem to think that, at least.
I'd love to see it happen. Have you been in touch? Because I feel like the West End is a little ahead of us in terms of like getting things up and running, theater-wise. What have you been hearing from the West End and your pals over there, sans Angela?
Well, I think that the difference with us and them is the unions, because they don't have strong unions over there. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know from working there that it's like Actors Equity is not as strong as over here and stuff. Yeah. So I know that the rules are different. I don't know enough to really comment on it, but it seems like nobody that I've been talking to is feeling like they're getting a sense they're going back any sooner. I think everybody, even though it's the West End, I think everybody is really looking at Broadway and really seeing what we're doing and when are we coming back.
I saw that Jason Robert Brown's Songs for a New World is actually going to play. They're going to do it. They're doing it over there.
Yeah, what theater was that? Is it going to?
I forget. And then, of course, Beverly Knight did the Palladium, which was the big hit. And then they've been doing a lot of outdoor stuff. Which is Andrew's,
that's a lot of what?
Stuff, like Pippin. And
oh, yes. Yeah, Regent's Park and all that. Yes, yes. I know. I wish that the Delacorte could be open or something. But again, I'm only saying this as just, these are my Sierra fantasies. I don't know how all this works, and I don't know what needs to happen, where, and all the stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I was really glad to know that Regent's Park did a thing and just all of that stuff. But, you know, I think London's a magical place, so maybe there are no rules because it's so magical.
Someone wants to know, did you like wearing the mermaid tail when you did Mermaid?
Did I like wearing it? I did, in the sense that it created my character part, a huge part of who she is. I had to have it. But that was the most complicated costume I've ever worn. That was the most complicated. There were so many parts of that. There was a tight, first there's a bike short with a device on it, a device on the back of the short. Then there's a tight that goes over that. Then there's a skirt to look like water. Then the tail slots in, has a pin so that it doesn't fall out. Then you have to move.
Was it heavy?
So you're seeing some of the, because it went through so many iterations, some of them were extremely heavy. And you have to look cute, so it can't be like pulling on your stomach. It has to be like, it has to also sit right. It went through so much. So the final version, though, was if they figured out like whatever the technology is to, there was one version had a motor in it. So the motor moved the tail. It lasted one night because it would make a sound, and it would, if it malfunctioned, it's like, so you'd be like, look at this stuff, you know.
That's great.
So yeah, there was a lot.
I remember when I guess Mermaid was closing, I think a friend of mine who worked at Disney was saying that they were like giving away costumes. Did you keep any?
I have 3.
What do you have?
So I was already in London doing a show, and my sister was living at my old apartment, which was a 5th floor walk up. And so all of a sudden came these giant, I mean, wardrobe-sized boxes that have, so I have the pink dress, I have the Kiss the Girl dress, the really cute yellow and white thing, and I might have the nightgown. No, I don't think I have the nightgown. And the wedding dress. Aww. And they're stunning. Like, they are the best things ever. But they're humongous. And the shoes and all the stuff that went with them. And my sister lugged these giant boxes up 5 flights of stairs, and she put it on. She put on the pink dress. And she, like, made a video of herself staring out the window waiting for Sean Palmer to come and rescue her.
So sweet.
Yeah. But my tail and shells and all that, I don't have, which I wish I had. I probably wish I had the shells. The tail, I don't know what I would do if it would break in my apartment. But that's on display in the Disney offices.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Sierra, we are coming to the end of the conversation, but I've been asking all of my guests during this series, which we started back in March, thinking it was only going to be a month-long thing, but you are guest number 22, I think. Ariella can chime in at the bottom if she knows that's right. But you're guest 22. And I've asked everyone along the way, what's the one thing you were looking forward to the most once Broadway is up and running? It could be the smallest thing about Broadway. But what's the one thing you're looking forward to the most?
I think that for seeing a show, it will be taking the first step inside the theater with everyone. It will be the first where you give your ticket to the usher and you walk inside. I think actually will be the thing that I will feel like crying. And if I'm doing a show, it would be walking on the stage for the first time.
I don't know how you guys are going to do that, and just contain yourselves, because, I know I'm going to be super emotional just walking into a theater and being with people, knock on wood, that will be the experience. But, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Just even talking about it just fills you with so much emotion. That's like, it's going to be the first time again. Like how you said, that was like your first time seeing Phantom. We all remember our first Broadway show. And I just realized this just now in this, which is we're also going to have these conversations later in life, which was, what was the first show you saw after the pandemic? What was the first show you saw?
Is there a show in particular that comes to mind that you want to see out of, if everything opens, that,
Well, now that I'm just in Phantom world, I can't decide if I would want to. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what gets better than, what's more Broadway than going to Phantom of the Opera, the longest running Broadway show. What's more Broadway than that? I don't know.
There isn't.
There isn't.
We can go to Phantom together. Kyle's coming with me if he's not performing in it. I think Anna Viafani is coming. You can come, or you'll be playing Christine.
Great.
So we'll bring Mark Timonelli. He'll come with us too.
Great.
And Titus will be there.
Oh, what a crew. Titus will be. We'll all be there. Oh my
I'm buying that a row. Well, I love you. I adore you. Thank you.
I love you
for
too.
doing this with me, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Frank, and for everybody watching and stuff.
Thank you guys.
Bye.